What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2 and another Hero Spotlight. Today we're going to take a look at the Proton Charge, or what's commonly referred to as the Proton Cannon on the EV2. Now, this ability actually makes the EV2 one of the easiest DPS characters to gear and get to a point where you can really burn through some stuff. Now, this video is just highlighting the Proton Charge, and I'm not talking about gravity bots or the weapon manufacturer at all in this video. Now, first off, the Proton Charge, as we see, it scales off of ability power and hero damage. Now, it does scale better off of hero damage than ability power. So hero damage will be your number one, and ability power will be your number two. And just by getting a hero damage ability power set, not worrying about a single passive at all, you're going to put out 300 plus DPS very, very easily with the Proton Charge. Now, one thing to note, Dragolich is kind of the perfect Proton Charge pet. The reason being is Sandstorm and Poisonous Tips do not work with the Proton Charge. Now, what would work is get like yourself a nice little Gatto Fireworks pet or something along those lines. That would scale very nicely. However, I prefer Dragolich just for the pure beast mode that you're able to put out when you use that ability. So, me personally, I'm a fan of the Drago. You do whatever you want to do, but keep in mind that Poisonous Tips and Sandstorm will not work with this build. Now, once again, we are looking for hero damage and ability power. So you're going to want hero damage and ability power on every single piece. Now, a few things to note as far as passives go. That Proton Charge Width increases Proton Charge Width by 10%. That passive does not work currently. Does nothing for you. Now, I haven't bothered collecting up the perfect passive set for my EV2 just because I personally prefer the EV2 playing in the Proton Charge playstyle. I haven't messed a whole lot with Gravbots or with the weapon manufacturer, as the Proton Charge is just so beastly. I haven't bothered moving on to anything else. However, I will say that I do like the big boy passive on the weapon better than the Atomic Madness and MDL Discharge passives. Since I don't use the weapon manufacturer, but I will every now and then throw down a Gravbot, I like to have that big boy in the mix, and it definitely makes a difference. Now, of course, the shot type that I prefer is the Magnanimous Projector. I've said this many, many times. In my opinion, that burns heat quicker than any of the other EV2 shot types. So that is indeed the one I prefer. Now, one passive you are going to be concerned about is Hero Crit. Now, you don't want to prioritize. If you find a piece that has, say, hero damage, ability power, and Proton Charge Width, like this piece that I have here, these gloves, no Hero Crit, this is actually still a really, really good piece. And since we are not putting anything into Hero Crit itself, and Hero Crit does scale very poorly with the EV2, one of the reasons there is it's kind of a no-brainer that you want to go hero damage, ability power. Both of those scale with several of the abilities and makes it so your auto attack shot will still burn through flyers. It'll put out, 80, 90, 100,000 DPS without any problems, without Dragolich, or without any pet ability. So you do have a spammer there from the hero damage, but you still have enough juice with the ability power stacked on top to make your abilities like that Proton Charge hit a lot harder. Now, a couple of the passives that do work, see if I can find one. Do I even have one of the working passives? Haha, I don't have any of the working passives. The one passive that does work is the passive that reduces the heat of your Proton Charge. That is the only Proton Charge direct passive that does work. Now, a lot of people will tell you that Proton Charge doesn't crit. However, it does crit. As you see, you will see some red numbers flying up there. Not very many because my crit chance is so low, but it does indeed crit. Now, once again, the crit damage scales so poorly that it's not really a big issue of worrying about your hero crit, but do know that the Proton charge will indeed crit. Now, there's also a little mixed talk on what skill spheres to use. Now, first off, the Proton charge deflect, upgrading the Proton cannon to deal an extra 350% of your ability power, and increases max range by 30%. That skill sphere does indeed work, so you're going to want to make sure you use this one. Proton Flame Charge, EV2's Proton Cannon is upgraded with a Flaming Core, dealing an extra 50% fire damage to enemies it hits. That sphere works as well, so definitely use those two. Thirdly, the Heat Capacitor. I jumped over one here. The Heat Capacitor, EV2 upgrades your Heat Capacitor, extending the max heat by 100. That's a must too. As you see, it gives you the 200 heat. It allows you to spam that Proton charge much, much longer. Twice as long. So, I mean, that's a given as well. The one optional skill sphere you do have is the Heat Dispenser module. I personally use the Heat Dispenser module. A lot of other people like to use one of the Oiling Spheres. The Oiling Sphere does indeed work. And the Bots of Oil, if you do like to spam the bots, that of course is going to work. So you can use that one as well. I personally prefer that Heat Dispenser module though, as it allows me to just rip through that heat very, very quickly. So that is going to do it for now. Anyone who doesn't, get yourself a Proton Charge EV2. Yeah, it doesn't have double jump and it can't fly. If it did, it would be the perfect hero. There is no doubt about that. But anyway, thank you for watching. Click that like button and please subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments below what hero spotlight you want to see next. Thanks again. We'll see ya.